Okay, let's start off with Matthew. Again, you give us money, you go to the top of the list. Matthew says, by the way, thank you, Matthew, 1999. What will be the difference of games for teams that do make the National League playoffs and who miss it? In which scenarios do you see the Padres being buyers or sellers? At what point in the season do you determine buying or selling?
Oh, I think it's all predicated on where you are as you get to July. Have you really faltered? Are you wrecked by injuries? Have you run out of steam? If you're not really in the playoff hope, then maybe you rent somebody out. As it relates to the Padres, Matthew, if they're not in the hunt for the wild card spot, then I think maybe they make Dylan Cease tradable. I don't think they trade Michael King away. They've got June, they've got to July to work contract extensions with these guys. I don't know any agent though is going to sign a contract extension right now. I think he's going to take his player out on the open market, etc. If you're out of the race, then maybe you shop some people. But they don't believe they're going to be out of the race. I just happen to think this month of June is going to be really hard for the Padres because I think they've been living on borrowed time for a while, and now they start playing real people over the next month, and then obviously into August. But where are you? Where are you in mid-July? Are you a true player to be a playoff team, or on the outside of the periphery? Right now, there's the Padres. I view them as a playoff team, but they cannot afford. And I hate to pull this phrase, I told you so. But I told you so.
Love that.
Well, I know what I'm talking about. I told you so that they were wafer thin and they could not afford to have anything happen to Cease, nor to Michael King, nor to Pivetta. Well, Cease has got mechanic problems that they just have not been able to put their arms around and get him consistent again. And he's such a power guy. I just worry about him getting hurt because he is such a power guy. King has now got this issue. Pivetta has given him everything he can. He's been spectacular at home, not so good on the road. I don't know that there's anything left they can get out of Yu Darvish. He's got tightness in that elbow again, and I don't. They write about, he threw 6 pitches in the bullpen on the weekend. That doesn't mean crap.
Right.
That's not max effort. That's not full thing, and then you have to see how he handles it. So. It may well be at age 38, 39. It may be that he's got arthritis in that elbow now. He's had multiple elbow problems 3 years running. And unfortunately, maybe he's reached the finish line because there's only so many bullets in the gun of a starting pitcher. And they're trying as best as they can. So that's where we are. But that's a great question, Matt. It's all predicated on a situation. Where are you in the standings on July 15th as to whether you're going to trade for somebody or be a seller?
Well, I remember at the beginning of the year, we were saying, okay, the Dodgers are going to win the West. And then in the East, it'll be the Mets, the Phillies, or the Braves. One of them will win the East. Mm-hmm. And the other two are probably wild cards. Then you got the winner of the Central, probably Chicago. That only really left one extra spot for the Padres. But we thought the Diamondbacks are going to be good, and they just lost Corbin Burns. Have we got an update on that?
He's having an MRI on his elbow. And that comes after they lost Eduardo Rodriguez and they lost Jordan Montgomery. I mean, they're down 3 of their 6 starting pitchers. And I don't think they've really replaced Christian Walker at first base. Josh Naylor is not hitting in Arizona with the consistency that he hit when he was with Cleveland. So Arizona doesn't seem to be in the mix for a wild card spot now because they're really dinged up. Frisco, Giants have had a really good first third of the season, and they got a bunch of guys that aren't hitting. Willie Adames is hitting 206. That's their big money shortstop. But they got the young, is a Japanese star, Lee.
Yeah,
boy, he's having a great first half of the season, and Heliot Ramos is hitting home runs, and Robbie Ray is 7-0. You're kidding me. He's been on the disabled list.
Robbie Ray.
He's been on the disabled list for like 3 years in a row, and he's 7-0 out of the gate. So, but there's still a lot of baseball to be played. But Atlanta's got injury issues. They looked like they had bounced back. Now they're ailing again. Philadelphia's got bullpen problems. It's a drug suspension in there. Aaron Nola's not healthy. He's on the disabled list. Some of the Philly guys are not hitting like the Philly guys have hit in the past. So, a lot of baseball to be played, but so we'll find out by July 15th. You have to start actually make a decision. Will we be a playoff team? If not, do we sell some people to get out from underneath the second half of the contracts of some of these guys.
Oh, by the way, the center fielder for the Giants, I think he's from Korea, isn't he? Not Japan.
Is it Jung?
Yeah, last name is Lee.
Jung-Hoo Lee?
Jung-Hoo or Soo, I think.
Yeah.
But my buddy that is a huge Giants fan, lives up in North Beach in the city. And we just made a bet today. I got the Padres, he's got the Giants for these 4 games. And the loser has to pay for dinner at the House of Prime Rib in San Francisco.
Are you allowed to take your co-host with you?
If you want to pile in with Sniffer in the back seat of my car. Okay.
Hey, good to hear from you, Matt. And again, we just learned while we were both on the disabled list for fear we had COVID, we just learned that our subscriber number went over 8,000 while we were sick. So you people, we salute you people. Thanks for doing this for us.
Yeah, that's just YouTube only. I mean, we got subscribers on all the other platforms too. Okay, we're going to stay with the theme of if you give us money, you go to the top of the list, and it's Matthew again. Thank you, Matthew. And he goes, I was at the SDFC versus LA Galaxy game, and I find it hard to be invested in MLS, but love European soccer. Lozano is too good for MLS. He should be in Europe.
You know, the most amazing thing, when he first got signed, when Chucky got signed, I said, all right, Chucky was in Mexico, was never even part of the Mexican World Cup team. How's that possible? Yeah. But he had a lot of injuries. He just never got healthy. And he got here and he played really well first week or so of the season. And what happened? He got hurt again. So this is the second time this hamstring has flared up on him. But I give that front office a lot of credit. They've done a great job sighting, scoping, and in just inviting and bringing in all these players from different backgrounds. Dreyer gets no national coverage at all. That's a really good player that came out of Denmark. And I mean, he and Chucky, man, they hit it off really well. And their defense is really good. And the goaltending is really good. To have an expansion team starting from absolute ground zero and to be where they are, 9 wins this season? 9-5-3, I think it is.
Something. I mean, they're doing really well.
That's amazing how they put this thing together. So it's really been impressive.
You know, I mean, obviously European soccer is a whole other thing, La Liga and, we're talking about Italy and Portugal and Spain and France and all these leagues, Premier League. But it's just cool having our own thing, It's okay. It's like being a team that got a AA baseball team, and you've got a team and you got guys you can follow and root for and learn about them. And so that's what we're doing. And it's been a great run. And the soccer is still very entertaining.
Yeah, we still got half a season to play.
Yeah. But how about that Galaxy game, with that goal, like within the final minute of extra time, that was just fantastic.
I mean, I sat there and I watched that thing, and that was a defender's mistake. And all of a sudden it was 2-on-1 going the other way. Mm-hmm. And Dreyer came up the right side with the ball. Chucky trailed him. Chucky cut to the middle of the box. Dreyer pinpoint pass. Chucky with the header beat the defender, knocked it into the net. I mean, it's what they've done in terms of talent level in year one. Really, really impressive. Okay. Next one.
Let's talk some Angels here with a person who doesn't really have a name. The Angels should trade Mike Trout, but it's hard to see them doing it.
Well, the question is, does he want to be traded, or is he willing to stay there and just be the cornerstone and try to get healthy, stay healthy, etc. Real tough call for the Angels. Somebody had written me an email and said, Lee, this is absolutely terrible what's gone on there. Perry Manazian doesn't deserve the job. Well, that's not necessarily true. I think Perry has done as good a job as he can humanly do in a tough set of circumstances. I mean, they started in ground zero, and they've had injuries, they've had tragedies, they've had just guys who not played very well and earned their pay. And it's tough to build it through the farm system. It takes a lot of time, but you see flashes and you say, wow, Zach Neto is pretty impressive. And you see Chanel, and he's hitting 285, and then Logan O'Hoppy's hitting home runs, and you say they're making some progress. Now, they're not all there. They got 2 young outfielders at AA, high draft picks that maybe are going to surface. I'm waiting for Caden Dana, a high draft pick, to surface a pitcher. But it's just rebuild takes forever, and that's a big issue there. So, unless they can put Trout in a win-win situation for Mike Trout personally, but you got to get a haul back, and then it looks really bad. You're trading a superstar, but How do you fix the thing? Probably by making a 5-for-1 trade of Mike Trout, but you got to hope you get the right 5 people back.
Imagine having Trout and Ohtani and being unsuccessful. I mean, it's just insane. Tim Anderson didn't work out, did he?
Nope.
They cut him.
Yeah, they released him as hitting 209 or whatever. And again, they signed a lot of rentals, guys who had some success other places. But, your shelf life, if you're a rent-free agent, is only as good as what have you done the last couple of weeks. And Tim Anderson, I mean, he was playing a lot at second base. Just one hit. He lost his ability to hit. I don't know, it was a mechanical flaw, whatever, or bat speed. Just not the same guy he used to be with the White Sox when he was an All-Star.
Yeah, but he was scuffling last year. Wasn't he with the Marlins or something?
Oh, he's been scuffling for 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. So that one, I remember when they made that signing, I was like, I'm not real confident in that one. Okay, hey, let's talk some NHL with Callan. He goes, hey, welcome back, gents. I am fired up for Panthers-Oilers round 2. Feel like Florida is winning it all again. Not sure if Skinner can be trusted in between the pipes.
Yeah, the traffic in front of these guys is going to be unbelievable. I mean, Florida just forechecks your brains out. They forecheck you till you almost give up. They are so big and they're so physical, and every one of their lines plays the exact same way, and they just go to the net and they throw a lot of pucks on net. And John, when you take shots on net, they're not all booming slap shots. It's just throwing rubber in front. It's going to hit a skate. It's going to hit a body. It's going to hit a stick. It's going to deflect off a rebound. Somebody's going to bash it back into the net. These goaltenders are just going to be under siege. But these are two really good teams. I happen to think that there's no doubt that head coach is a really good head coach in Florida. And Knobloch has done a great job in Edmonton, making it more than just Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and that ownership group has done a good job building depth there. These are two really good rosters.
Yeah, it's going to be it's must-see TV, right?
Yep.
And when it starts, what, Wednesday? Wednesday. And then the NBA starts Thursday.
Exactly.
Okay. Jeez, hell of a June. It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep going here. We'll go to Javi. He goes, Padres looking for like a wild card exit. Hope you enjoy your time in the sun, Padre fans.
Oh, just feel free to throw at somebody's head there. Why don't you? We'll see. At the end of the day, it's easy to sit here and critique, but I told you so that this is all 14-3 start. It's all a byproduct of who was on that schedule, and everybody played really well. We're going to wake up one morning and find out something's not right with Tatis. I don't know whether it's injury or something personal is going on, but he's just not the same player right now. And, Jackson Merrill cooled off. And the thing is, these guys are ballers. I mean, that's all they do. And they play so hard and they play so many innings, and there's hardly any days off at all. I mean, the wear and tear factor on these guys is really, really hard in Major League Baseball. So we'll see what this haul is. They 30, is it, what did I say? Oh, I got too many numbers in my head. This
was 32 out of 34.
Yeah, 32 road game. 32 games in 34 days.
Yeah.
And you're doing that with a slumping Tatis and no left fielder and a void hitting behind home plate and with half a starting rotation. That's a bad formula.
It's going to be brutal. I mean, just 4 games in a row in San Francisco, starting this week is going to be tough.
Yeah, and they got the Dodgers coming for 4 too.
Yeah. So, I mean, Javi has got to be a Dodger fan. I mean, they're giving crap, enjoy your time in the sun, Padre fans.
Javi, just flash me a picture of your driver's license. We'll find out what area code you're from. That's okay. That's great. I can imagine beat LA something.
Oh, it's going to be
I'm
great.
ready.
Okay, let's go here over to Casey. He goes, hey, I know it's early before MLB trade deadline, but do you think the Dodgers make a move for another reliever or starter with all the injuries with the pitching?
Well, they just made the deal to get Alexis Diaz from Cincinnati, who had 75 career saves. He's at Oklahoma City. He had been hurt. He came back to Cincinnati, just wasn't getting anybody out. So they got him in AAA, and they're just going to try to work their way through his mechanics and try to find out why he's not what he was, but he was really good. And the other factor is the Dodgers got a lot of guys on rehab, and these guys are pitching better. And, Kershaw has given them back-to-back really good starts. Kershaw's pitching against the Mets now. Emmett Sheehan threw 3 shutout innings in his first start. They still have Bobby Miller. Hopefully they can refine him, get him back on the beam. So the Dodgers have numbers to go to, guys who've proven they can pitch. Padres don't have any of that. I mean, Padres they've taken everything out of El Paso and to a degree, a little bit out of San Antonio. There's nothing left to call up. That's a big issue. If, Michael King could be a week, hell, might be a month. I mean, shoulder impingement, you just don't know. And Darvish, to me, if he's still got tightness in his elbow, and it's been this long since he made that one rehab start, that's not a good sign to me. That seems to be chronic. So they're awful thin in pitching.
Well, the Dodgers are going to have Ohtani. They're going to have Snell and Glasnow at some point.
Yeah,
right?
but at some point, but we don't know. Those guys are both on a 60-day DL.
So, I mean, but it's possible that they don't need to trade for anybody. They just got to get their guys healthy.
Yeah, but that's a big but. And they're also in the process of they got to rebuild Sasaki. I mean, they got his mechanics are all out of sync, and this culture learning curve of pitching at this level has just really set him back. So, I don't know whether Sasaki is going to be of use to them much during the course of the season. But we don't know about Snell. We don't know about Glasnow. Now, who knows? I mean, that could be post All-Star break.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
you can be excited and say, well, they're going to be here July 5th. You don't know if they're going to be here and how they're going to hold up.
But with all this craziness and chaos going on, they're still in first place.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I figured the LA fans saying, hey, man, just stay in first. It's okay. The cavalry's coming.
Well, they got more on the way than the Padres have, because Padres don't have anybody on the way now.
Well, Matt Waldron.
But he's got a 6.75 ERA in rehab.
Yeah, but you know what? That knuckleball doesn't dance at elevation. I think Waldron is going to contribute at some level here.
You're allowed to do this podcast with your heart. Sometimes, though, you do need to do it with your head.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's go here to Greg. And he goes, hey, Lee, I think if Lincoln Riley drops Notre Dame from the schedule, the alumni will revolt. That was the original best of the West versus best of the East. The game is built around tradition. Thoughts? Well,
the game right now is built around the dollar bill and obviously the college football playoffs. Can't drop the rivalry. I mean, I think it's sinful for anybody to have this discussion. And, they're going to expand the college playoffs to 16. So even if you play Notre Dame and even if you get beat by Notre Dame, it's not the end of the world, because they're going to take 16 teams. And if you're really good, as Lincoln Riley indicates they think they will be, you still have a chance to be really good, even with Notre Dame on the schedule. I'm sorry. USC playing Eastern Washington, there's no credibility in that. USC playing a non-conference game with the Irish, that's big-time football. But, man, there's a lot of controversy in and around that campus about you should not do this. And yet, Lincoln Riley is Greg is pushing a ball towards ending this rivalry. How can you end a rivalry? Goes back to 100 years, goes back to Newt Rockne. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful, but it's every team is doing this. I mean, the season schedules came out, and the SEC and the Big Ten teams, they got like 3 cupcakes, at the top end of that schedule. I mean, if you got USC as one of your out-of-conference games, that makes it a really hard schedule.
I concur with you, because they're playing in the Big Ten. The Big Ten's really rugged.
Yeah.
So I wish I had a solution, but I'm a traditionalist. College football at 1 p.m., college football at 7 p.m. on Saturday. That's the way it should be. And rivalries. Don't screw the rivalries up. But it's all changed.
I just always think of Keith Jackson. He was great. Yeah, in Alabama. It was terrific. Okay, let's keep going here. We'll go to Derek. And he goes, hey, put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame in a dark corner and never mention his name again.
You're going to put the plaque up if he gets in. Everybody, I think emotionally now everybody knows. But, the issue is if we're changing the value structure of the guy going into the hall, and you're going to allow these guys who gambled from Shoeless Joe to Pete, what are we doing with Barry Bonds and Clemens? That's the next argument for the next podcast. Well, that's a huge issue, but everybody knows what they did, but they also hit 765 home runs.
Now, does any other Hall of Fame have this sort of controversy about guys that shouldn't be in, that cheated or broke rules?
No, because I don't think any other Hall of Fame has the historic value. You have to understand, John, baseball was America's game from the minute it was born up until the the 1980s
That sounds right.
when
Yeah.
the NFL took over.
Mhm.
It was America's game. So that value, and I love the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. You should all go and visit that. But the artifacts there do not equal what is in Cooperstown. And I've been to the NBA Hall of Fame in Springfield, Mass, and I went to the NHL Hall of Fame in Toronto, and they're phenomenal. But it's not equal to all things in Cooperstown. So it's complicated, and they opened Pandora's box by allowing Rose and the Black Sox people off the ineligible list. But now you gotta deal with Bonds and Sosa and Clemens and whomever else is out there from a steroid standpoint too. Tough call.
They're all part of the story, and you just got to put them in, warts and all. The Cooperstown is like a slice of Americana, isn't it? I mean, it's more than just baseball. I mean, it's baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet. Yep. I've been to the Hall of Fame in Springfield, the basketball, because that's not just NBA. I think it's
just basketball.
The basketball Hall of Fame. And that was interesting. They had a couple of places where they let you shoot baskets, some interactive things, but it was, it was nice, but it wasn't like a wow experience.
The College Football Hall of Fame was in Indianapolis. I visited that. But there's so many in that. I mean, they put 22 people in every year. But in college football encompasses everything from the Ohio States to Division III and Moravian and all that. I mean, there's all kinds of unique people there. You said, oh, there's this great coach that coached his entire career at Frostburg State and won 350 games. So it's a very different hall. Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on. You got a lot more Padre talks. Let's go here. We'll talk to baseball coffee talk. As a Padres fan, it feels like the wheels are falling off and we only have one donut spare. Padres will miss the wild card by 5 games.
Well, you're not very optimistic. I mean, the reality is they were 14-3, and the reality is they're 19-21, and they haven't played many people, and now they're moving into the teeth of the schedule. I think it's going to be an enormous challenge, but you got a general manager who does have a history of making deals, and this story out there about Boston is now been confirmed that they've talked to the Red Sox at least twice in recent weeks about Jarren Duran, and that's a quality player, younger guy, controllable guy. Question is, what do you give up? I mean, do you give up an established player? John wanted to trade one of the relief pitchers. That would help Boston a great deal. I brought up Cronenworth's name. That would probably help Boston a little bit too, because he can play so many different positions. I'm not trading Salas. I'm not trading DeVries, but to get, you're going to have to give. So that's a big issue.
The wheels are falling off. Time is running out. I mean,
you're talking about me in the podcast too?
Well, no, but it was like your headline here. They're living on borrowed time, so it's just doom and gloom. Imagine if the Padres go on a nice little run here in June and Tatis resurrects himself, because he usually hits well in June. This could be an historic month. I mean, if you're being a glass half full kind of guy.
Or doing the podcast with your heart rather than your head.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, it's still going to be a great season here. Okay, this is an interesting comment. This is from Derek. He goes, hey, when you were on Winnipeg Sports Talk and you said that Irsay was the one that got rid of the doofus in Washington, that is probably the biggest thing he did.
Well, he was the one that stood up. Again, a lot of these owners are rich and they don't want to be involved in controversy and they stand in the shadows. But what was happening with Daniel Snyder was that he was at war with Roger Goodell. There was the toxic workplace environment lawsuit in which he got fined $10 million and was removed from day-to-day control of the Washington Redskins Commanders. And then he threatened through people that I have dirt on all you guys, and he was going to spread that dirt. And Jim Irsay stood up at a league meeting, and these league meetings are enclosed with other owners. And he said, I don't think you represent the Shield. And by the way, I don't care that you have dirt on me. Everybody knows about my personal problems with addictions. So you can't tell anybody about me that they don't already know, because I'm a stand-up guy. And he said, I don't think you belong in this group. And they promptly voted him out. And, Jim Irsay also did a lot of creative stuff. He was one of the creative architects of the salary cap, and the salary cap ended the work stoppages. It led to a better form of free agency for the players, and everybody in the league is making money now. And that's a byproduct too. but he had a lot of demons. He was controversial. Sometimes he acted like a crackpot, did stupid things. But gee, I'll be honest with you, Derek. He is so beloved in Indianapolis, absolutely amazing. So memorial service was today.
Yeah, rest in peace, Jim Irsay.
Yeah.
But you're talking about Daniel Snyder.
Oh.
Is Snyder the worst owner in all of professional sports, or maybe is it Sterling of the Clippers? I mean, who would you say are the worst owners ever?
I would have to say Sterling, because I think he was an unmitigated racist on top of being a bad businessman, bad citizen. I mean, the lawsuits involving Sterling off the floor with his housing and his denigration of minorities, and just that's why he was expelled from the NBA. He was a really bad guy. There've been bad owners everywhere. Charlie Finley was all about Charlie Finley and money, and he lost. Charlie Finley is the reason baseball free agency occurred, because he owned the Kansas City A's and the Oakland A's, and he defaulted on contracts, and Jim Catfish Hunter sued him and said, "You breached my contract." And he said, "No, I don't." And they went to arbitration, and the arbitrator said, "You violated his contract. That man's a free agent." And then it followed the lawsuit about, when my contract is up, I can go on the open market. And baseball lost that lawsuit too. And this is all because of Charlie Finley. So yeah, there've been a lot of bad citizens, just because you own or are rich does not mean you're a good person. Robert Irsay was horrible in Baltimore, just a horrible person.
Oh, that's the father.
That was the father of Jim Irsay.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that he was a raging alcoholic and just all kinds of trouble. But he was rich and he owned the team. So,
well, another bad owner, I mean, not from a character perspective, but as a business perspective, has got to be Montfort in Colorado Rockies.
Well, might be a good person, but he wrecked a regional franchise. I mean, it's just absolutely terrible what the Rockies have become in a market that drew 4 million. Just absolutely amazing.
That's unbelievable.
Yep.
Okay, keep on moving.
How about my guy? John Hopkins has been there for a while.
Let's go to John. Okay. A.J. Preller has to look at what he gave Washington, C.J. Abrams, James Wood, Mackenzie Gore, and Robert Hassel III, and wonder, what the hell was I thinking? And Josh Bell is back in D.C. too, hitting .375, 3 homers, 7 RBIs in his last 7 games. Think any of those guys couldn't fill some holes in the Padre lineup?
Well, understand, one deal was with prospects who had yet to prove themselves at the major league level. That obviously, allowed you to get access to Soto. And then you moved Soto a year later, which allowed you to get access to pretty good pitching, which also allowed you to get Dylan Cease and then Michael King. So it sometimes it's really hard to equate all these transactions, because one spills into another, and there's some dominoes that fall out of that into another deal, etc. End of the day, Washington's got all these cornerstone young players, but are they winning? Are they 500?
Yeah, something like that.
No. So Washington's not completely back, but that again falls on Washington for not spending money. That falls on Washington for having the bad luck with Steven Strasburg's career ending so prematurely because he just physically broke down. It falls on Washington as it relates to Bryce Harper. There's a lot of mosaic things there, John. You raise a good point, but there's a lot of other things that allowed Washington to beat where they were to what happened to Washington. Does it make sense?
It does. I mean, I know as Padre fans, we knew we gave up a lot in that deal. But that's what it took, to get supposedly the best hitter in baseball. And then he came here and laid an egg for most of the time Soto was here. Now Soto's stinking up the joint with the Mets. Is just crazy. But this James Woods guy, I mean, he is just crushing the ball.
Yep.
I mean, it's really impressive.
He's a player, and then, they just called up Hassel. Hassel's hitting, and C.J. Abrams locked in as a star. And so, making deals is really hard, and you make one deal to solve one problem. Maybe you create another problem along the way. We'll just see what Preller does. He does have a history. He has no fear at all of making transactions. And, they've made calls to Boston to talk about the Duran potential of a deal. But Boston's got some other holes. I thought Boston was really going to be the player in the American League East, but their pitching staff has never really gotten healthy. Crochet has pitched well. Nobody else has. All the kid pitchers have been hurt. Relievers have had problems. So, and losing Cassis, the first baseman, Tristan Cassis, who blew out that knee running down the baseline. It was just a lot of injury issues have really sidetracked everything that was supposed to be happening at Fenway Park. So, I mean, Yankees are in first place. I never thought that was possible. Now there's still a lot of baseball to be played. I kept projecting Baltimore did not do enough for their pitching. Look where Baltimore is. They're out of the race already. They've really taken a step back, and Boston's obviously had a lot of people gotten hurt.
Now, help me out on this whole Rafael Devers thing. I mean, has it sorted itself out now that Bregman is hurt?
Yeah, I mean, Devers is staying where Devers is staying, and Bregman's got the quad injury, and we haven't seen the full potential of what Boston could be because they never got out of the gate healthy. I mean, their pitching thing was a big issue because after Crochet, they lost a lot of guys in the rotation, and then Bregman's got the quad, and then Devers had a lousy start, and then Devers got hot, and then Devers got pissed off, and then they had to put that fire out. So.
Well, you know who they brought up is Marcelo Meyer, who
first
played
baseman.
at Eastlake High School, and so I'm excited for him.
Yeah, and they've got another young guy. Is it Roman Wilson? I think he's a left fielder, hot prospect. They've been waiting in Boston for weeks for him to get called. He's probably going to get called. If he gets called, then I don't know whether they put Duran back in center field or actually they trade Duran. So we'll just have to see. But we'll see what the Padres do because the Padres obviously are making calls to a lot of people.
Okay, let's keep going here. We'll go to, let's go to Douglas, talking a little football. He goes, Joey Bosa calf injury, lack of body fat.
It's interesting because he's a fanatical workout guy, and he just continues to have all these injury problems. So it's a big issue, and this was a significant calf pull, and this is the second time that he's injured this calf. So he is out. They say till the 1st of August, and again, you always handle these things with kid gloves, so that becomes a big issue too as to what they're going to do with Bosa. I mean, he's making $12.5 million, so that's a big issue too. Tough loss. Guy just can't get away from the injuries. He's had an injury after injury, whether it's wrist, whether it's hamstring, whether it's calf. He's just had a lot of that stuff going on in San Diego and with LA, and now he's in Buffalo and he's not healthy.
Yeah, you don't wish injuries or anything on these players, but as rooting for the Chargers, it was just always so disappointing, that he was just never there, and he had all that potential. So it's just like the same thing happening again. So you kind of feel for the guy.
And he's had every type of injury there is. I think I counted, he had 9 different injuries for the Chargers, and that started from wrist to concussion to hip to back to calf to foot to ankle, just nonstop.
Yeah, it's like the leg bone's connected to the ankle bone.
You got it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a couple more here.
Okay, let's go to Darth Skater. He goes, hey, I'm in the States, and I'm pulling for the Oilers. The most talented player, McDavid, should have a cup.
Well, it can't be a one-man team, and I will say this: they've done a good job of roster building. If you just go find a depth chart, and you just Google Edmonton Oilers depth chart, you'll be amazed at how many contributors they have. So that's really been impressive what Edmonton has become, what they've built. I'd like to see them win it. It's been a long time since Gretzky, Messier, Curry, and that was one of the greatest franchises of all time. And for them to come back and to see, and McDavid has just been a warrior of a leader, and Draisaitl came from Germany. And I remember seeing him. He played the American Hockey League when he first got here as a young guy, played in Bakersfield. And I go down there and watch him play against the San Diego Gulls. And I said, this kid he's not going to be here long. He's going to be in Edmonton. And he was. I'd like to see the Oilers get there. I wanted to see Winnipeg, Toronto. If it was Edmonton, Toronto, that'd be great. But Edmonton, Florida, no prisoners taken. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. And in one of the games, I think in the semifinals against Dallas, they were showing the players walking into the arena, and there was Connor McDavid. And dressed in, street clothes, but looking sharp. And I was just kind of surprised because as a regular looking guy, he's kind of lean. When he's in that hockey uniform with all the shoulder pads, he looks like a huge guy. But, like you say, he's like the fastest guy on the ice.
You watch him. He gets open ice. How quick he is out of the zone, through center ice, into the zone. It's hard to check him. It really is. You just watch him crank that thing up and you say, holy cow, is he different? Yeah, I think Stanley Cup playoffs would be fun. Okay, move on.
Okay, this is a good one. This is from Neil, and he goes, hey, does the Sports Wire still come through via fax?
somebody stopped me this morning and a longtime listener and made that comment. I remember the high speed. I think he said high speed sports fax, and I said no, high speed sports wire. But you remember fax machines? They used to send.
Yeah, that was like in the early 90s.
Yeah, my goodness. I mean, technology is so unbelievable, and yet buried in the back of my garage, I still have my Royal manual typewriter.
Of course you do. You know, when I remember listening to you on XTRA690 and you would talk about the high-speed sports wire, and I just had this vision in my head of like those old-fashioned stock tickers, with the little stock ticker tape that people were reading it, as it was coming off. I just had that vision. But really, what was your sports wire? Was it just fax?
No, the sports wire. No. Sports wire was a printer that you would subscribe to Associated Press, the Associated Press sports wire. It would run 24 hours. It would print every story that the Associated Press wrote that would go to all the newspapers around the country.
Oh.
But we, by contract, got access to it in radio. I had it in Cleveland. I had it in Phoenix. And I got it in San Diego. So when I would go into work at midday, because at that point, I wasn't on the air till 4 p.m. or 6 p.m., but I would go into work. This is pre-computer internet era. And I'd go into the newsroom. We had all the different wires. We had the AP wire. We had the state wire. We had a local wire from, I think it was called the City News Service. We had the sports wire. And I would roll the copy up, and I'd get about this much wire copy. And I'd go into my office, and I'd sit, and I'd go through the stories that I wanted, and and it'd be the baseball stories, the football stories, and I would have all the stuff that the newspapers wouldn't be able to print till the next day.
Oh,
but it ran 24 hours a day.
That's why it was breaking news.
It was breaking news. And the other thing, there was a separate thing. I think it was called the sports ticker, which ran scores. That was the small, thin tape.
Oh, like the stock market.
Stock market tape. Yeah, exactly. And that would have every half inning of Major League Baseball. If there was a home run hit, there'd be Cincinnati 2, Pittsburgh 1, such and such hit a 2-run home run in the 5th inning. So during my breaks, I'd run into the newsroom to check the sports wire, but also check the sports ticker. I'd be running down the hallway with all this wire copy falling out of my hands. So,
well, 25 years ago, I worked for an internet company when, the first .com bubble busted. And our company here in San Diego ran the sports scoreboard page on America Online, and also ran all their fantasy sports. And we subscribed to Sports Ticker. And it's interesting how that business model worked, because they put stringers out at these games, and they're the ones that are pushing the button for ball strike and where it's going. And then that real-time feed is just powering all these things on the web. It's really cool, actually.
Yeah, but your eyeballs will fall out of your head trying to follow all that while you're doing sports talk radio, taking calls and interviewing people, and just
okay, and then running into Jim Rome in the hallway and everything else. Okay, let's keep trucking here. Showtime LA said he has 2 things here. Dodgers got a ton of reinforcements. Yates, Kopech, Emmett Sheehan, all coming back. And Henriquez as well, expected back in 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, but they're not all back. I mean, Yates got the hamstring. He's probably first in line. Emmett Sheehan maybe a little bit down road. He's only had 1 rehab out, and he threw 3 shutout innings though Sunday in Oklahoma City. I don't know where Kopech is, because he's had multiple setbacks. So, just because you have a good outing doesn't mean the next day you're going to feel 100%. And then you throw bullpens. How do you feel when you throw the bullpens? It's a long process. I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, you just think about Yu Darvish of the Padres. He had elbow problems in spring training, and that's in February. And he did not get on the mound till May, got on the mound through 4 1/3 innings at El Paso, pitched pretty well. His elbow has not been right since he threw. He's had tightness there, and he can't get back. And he's hardly thrown any elbows, any bullpens at all. And I don't count standing in the outfield and playing catch. That's not max effort. That's not pitching. That's just playing catch. So these guys, it's a long road back. When you do the rehab, it's strenuous, and it just bakes your mind. How am I going to feel the next day? I'm okay right now. I did my 2 1/3 innings in Oklahoma City. how am I going to feel tomorrow morning? And what if I don't feel right the day after? Because then I do have to throw a light bullpen the second day after I pitch. What? Then you get the mental thing of I don't feel right. It is so hard.
Did you notice that when the Padres played the Marlins, Sandy Alcantara pitched, and he's coming back from Tommy John,
And he's getting blistered.
Yeah, he's not pitching well. His
His
location's
ERA
off.
is 8.27. Just has not been the same pitcher. And that guy was dominant. He was a Cy Young candidate a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And then he had the major elbow surgery, and he's back. They say he's healthy, but I don't think his velocity is where it was before. He's just not the same pitcher.
Well, he'll be on the trade market, no doubt.
Yeah, but what do you get?
What do you get?
Damaged goods.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good point.
Okay, let's go here. This is an interesting one here. This is another one from Derek. He goes, speaking of ESPN, rest in peace to John Brankus, ESPN Science.
Yeah, I didn't know him very well at all. I just knew the name. Somebody, I can't recall where I read, there was something with mental health with him that might have had something to do with his very sudden passing. He was much younger. I don't know if he was 51, maybe.
I heard 54.
Okay, so that was tough. I think a lot of people were very, very surprised to get that news over the weekend that he had passed away.
Yeah, I haven't read the whole story, but there were people were hinting, like you say, mental health. I don't know if it was suicide. I'm speculating, but I will say his show was great.
Yep.
And I just remember like little things, like he would get, like a baseball pitch or a softball pitch, like as girls softball, they have the rise ball. Like, does the ball really rise? And they would measure it all out. And it was nerdy, but really well done.
You are a nerd.
Oh, no doubt.
Okay. All right, let's move on here. We got social media stacked up. Man, we've just had a long run here with people joining us in the chat box and fans forum. You want to do social media, John?
We do. We got a bunch here. We'll get in as many as you're willing to go. Let's start here with some Chargers, and this is from Party Pardita. Hey, please create a Coach Bobby Ross podcast. When you mentioned how he gathered with his retired coach friends to talk football, I wanted nothing to be a fly on the wall.
Oh, that's so cool. And again, for fans that don't know, I go back to Virginia and West Virginia in the spring, and Bobby has retired to Richmond to a senior citizens community. And he's done very well. He fought through some health problems, but coach is pushing 88, maybe. He is sharp as a tack. So when I was in Virginia in the spring, I went and had lunch with him and his brother Donnie, and he'd sit there and I could talk football with him all day. And he was such a great gentleman and such a sharp guy and so demanding of everybody. And he finally moved, he and his wife. He's got 17 grandkids. It's unbelievable. He doesn't send out a Christmas card. He sends out a team picture. It's really hilarious. He's got all 17 grandkids.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. But he was telling about, I moved into this senior community, and we have this nice house on a ridge in the senior village. And he said, I found out there's 2 retired football coaches who are living there too. So they get together on Mondays and Fridays. And on Mondays, they sit there and rehash what happened in the ACC because it's Virginia. And then Friday, they talk about NFL games and college games. And he's in his glory because he's got 2 retired football coaches or former head coaches too that kind of hang with him and have coffee with him and are always available. So he's in his element. Great man. Great man.
Did Bobby make any comments on the NFL today and the way the game has evolved? Does he like it or dislike it?
He spent more time talking to me about, I hate the NIL and I hate the transfer portal. And I knew that was coming because that's who he was.
Yeah.
But no, we haven't talked about it. We haven't talked about modern day football very much, but he had great success with the Chargers. He had some success in Detroit in a bad set of circumstances when Barry Sanders quit on him. Obviously, he won a national title. Think about that, a national title at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech.
That's crazy.
Exactly. So, I mean, and he was at Maryland and had great success there. And so, good man, good coach, stood for a lot of good things, revered by his players. And again, if you really want to kick, if you just go back and Google on YouTube, San Diego Chargers road to the Super Bowl, There's a video that I did for them for NFL Films that encompasses our play-by-play. But there's a segment of Bobby Ross talking to his team before the playoff game in Pittsburgh, where we won the AFC Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was ready to go through a wall for the man. Just what he's saying to the players in the bedlam at Three Rivers Stadium and the terrible towels, and he's got all these guys around him, and he's pointing his fingers in his southern drawl. John is so cool. Great gentleman. And we were very lucky. I was not here when Don Coryell was here, but that must have been just awesome for our community to have Air Coryell and Dan Fouts and all that. And then obviously I was the cornerstone of the broadcast package with Bobby Ross and Bobby Beathard, and that was so special. And then I worked and I covered Marty Schottenheimer, who I just liked a great deal, even though he was the enemy. He was Kansas City Chiefs, and I couldn't believe that they hired the coach of the Chiefs to come coach the Chargers. But he was a great leader and a great man and a great motivator too. So it was just kind of fun to be around those guys because they were all really, really different people.
So cool. Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we took this podcast on the road and did, got Bobby Ross sitting here right with us, just talk football for an hour?
Yeah, that'd be cool if we could execute it. Bobby, it's really interesting because Bobby knew that we were doing podcasts. He said, you're going to send me the link, right? I didn't even know that he knew how to turn a computer on, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe his wife does. But he said, "Oh yeah, I watch stuff on podcast all the time." That's cool. It's from an 88-year-old veteran coach.
Yeah, and you're still on the manual typewriter.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk here a little Chargers and Raiders. This is with Donald Howard. He says, "Hey Lee, I remember having a short conversation just before the Chargers rally when they were going to play Miami in the division round. And I mentioned that idiot Raider fan who called your show just before the week 1 of the season, who predicted in all seriousness that the Chargers would go 0-16 that season. We had a good laugh about that moron."
Raider Nation, out of touch, out of jail on bail. Call now, stolen car, stolen cell phone, etc. Had a great time with Raider fans. And they were still a really dangerous franchise when I first got here to San Diego. I mean, Marcus Allen was just one of the greatest modern-day running backs of all time, and they had good quarterbacks, etc. And their franchise was still really good, really competitive. Now it went downhill, and Al Davis lost touch with reality and started signing a lot of bad players, a lot of bad contracts, and they drafted really, really poorly. But they were still pretty doggone good when I first got here. And obviously, back in the day, with the trophies, they were a phenomenal franchise with a lot of loose cannons.
I just think you were here in 87, right?
Yes.
Wasn't like Jay Schrader the quarterback of the Raiders back then?
In and around there, maybe around 1990. And of course, Jay had been I think Jay was wound up with the Redskins, and he was okay. But they were, some of the guys they had right at the end, when they were still really competitive. Jeff Hostetler was just a grinder of a quarterback, really good player, kind of a gunslinger.
Mm-hmm.
But they had Willie Galt, and they were bringing all kinds of guys in off the street, and they were all athletes, and they could all run because that's what Al Davis wanted. They had some really good players. But Marcus Allen was just the epitome of class. They had Bo Jackson there for 15 minutes till he got hurt. Bo Jackson was phenomenal as an athlete, but then he had the devastating hip injury, and his career was over in a snap of fingers. But cast of characters, Lyle Alzado and all those guys.
Yeah, it's just the mystique, of the Raiders. It's just great. Okay, here's getting a little bit of hate mail here. This is from John Ortega is dumb. He goes, "Does anybody like this guy, or do we all just hate follow him?"
Who are we talking about?
You
can't be talking about me.
Yeah, this is a guy on Instagram, and when you're like, the Padres have got a problem, all the commentaries you do. And this is what this guy responded with.
That's okay. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. Even John from broadcasting from left field sometimes, or even those people out there. Hey, we all do it differently. I put topics on the table. I express opinions on my topics. Who is it to say that I'm not entitled to my opinion, aka First Amendment? You're entitled to your opinion, but understand this premise. I told this guy a long time ago. Don't argue with me. I'm a talk show host. You might be wrong.
And you'll always get the last word in, but it's interesting because I followed you through almost all of your career in San Diego, and because you make big opinions, you're going to have lovers and haters.
Sure.
But that's part of the fun of it all, and I just like it. Just the way you always bash on Raider Nation. I think it's just fantastic, content when you were on 690, 1090, and we still do it in the podcast.
And the Raider Nation that disliked me, I was a Raider Nation also came up to me, Oakland Coliseum, smoking joints.
Well, they offered you one, right?
Offered me joints.
Yeah.
Or offered, you want a beer? 9:30 in the morning. We're getting ready for a pregame show, and these guys are already 3 sheets to the wind. Now I'll wait till after the game if you want to meet me here. So that's cool. That's all right.
It's all good stuff. Okay, let's talk NBA Finals. This is with what is his name? Nuanez John. He says, "Hey, good. I like this new NBA. The young guys don't seem so, quote, let's form a super team minded. I also like this playoff physicality."
Well, there's no doubt there's athletes out there. It's a different breed of athletes. And I'd done a commentary a couple of weeks ago. I said the changing of the guard is totally complete in the NBA. I mean, you don't see LeBron playing this weekend, do you? Don't see Giannis. You obviously don't see any of the other great veteran players, Kevin Durant and all them. They're all gone. And here comes Oak City. And I think Oklahoma City, if they don't have any catastrophic injuries, they're going to be good for a long time because they got a lot of assets. They've got a lot of draft picks still stockpiled, have yet to be spent. So it'll be fun. I think that it's going to be hard for Indiana to be in this series. I said Oklahoma City back in October when we did our NBA preview. I thought either Boston or Cleveland would be really tough to reckon with, but injuries decimated those guys. So I think Indiana's going to be roadkill. I think this thing will go 5.
Aren't the playoffs so much better than the regular season? I mean, it's like no comparison.
Yeah. Do you get excited about Sacramento at Portland on a Thursday night?
Yeah. And they don't play defense. At least there's some defense going on here, and it's competitive, and I like that. But you mentioned Giannis. I saw a video of him on X, and it was like a signing thing, and they bring the jersey and he signs it. This little girl brought her jersey and he signed it. And then the little girl gave him a notebook, and it was full of drawings that she had made about Giannis.
Oh, that's cool.
And she was like 11 years old or something like that. And so Giannis came out from around the table and gave her a big hug. And it was a moment. It was really cool. I mean, Giannis is kind of an interesting character, but he's got a great heart.
Yep.
He's a good guy.
And we're waiting to see whether or not he's asking to be traded because he does not want to be part of rebuild. And Milwaukee's obviously in rebuild. There are rumors everywhere, John, and actually you can read them on my website because I do this rumor segment of what's gone on in the NBA. There's a lot of rumors out there right now of teams putting together packages. Houston, I tend to think, has a lot of the resources to make a deal to get Giannis there. Does he want to go there? I don't know. I've heard Boston. I heard Jaylen Brown could be on the way out. Boston's got money issues. They got real bad luxury tax problems. Boston have to move some people off that roster. But I heard the Jaylen Brown for Giannis in Milwaukee. That kind of makes sense because Milwaukee's going to have to get equal talent, star talent, back in any transaction, plus a load of number 1 draft picks. So, but Giannis has not publicly stated it's time for me to move on so you can do this rebuild properly.
But it's weird how the rumor is floating around out there.
Oh, there's rumors of something's going to change in Cleveland. And obviously this offseason, I'll tell you, June and July, it's going to be unbelievable. I mean, this Kevin Durant rumor, that will not go away. There's going to be something significant in Phoenix. Obviously, there's rumors in Cleveland. It's going to make some changes. Boston's got the money issue that they may make some changes. So there's a lot of places that there are going to be some transactions.
Okay, let's keep on moving. Now, this is a good one. This is going back to Slapshot. This, by the way, this video on your YouTube channel just gets plays all the time. And this is from BLMR GTR. And he says, hey, there is no sport like hockey. Every sport is unique, but their players represent people in all walks of life from around the world. Hockey players represent hockey, no matter where that player is from. And if you didn't play on a team that had a Hanson Brothers element, or at least played regularly against a team that had a Hanson Brothers element, then you've never really been a hockey player.
Well, it's cool. I mean, I lived that life. I lived 4 years in the Eastern Hockey League and the North American Hockey League, and I was part of Slapshot. And those guys, that movie is a 95% true story. So it's absolutely one of the classics of all time. And we did this just off the top of our head the first year we were doing the podcast. Let's do something different. I said, well, I'll tell you some stories. John's always pulling stories out of my garage about how did this happen over there.
Yeah. The stories are the greatest.
That's where it came up with the who were the Johnstown Jets, and we did the thing on Slapshot. And I don't know what the total number of viewers from that one is. It's got to be mega. It's got to be, I don't know, 800,000.
Well, I don't know if it's that much, but what's interesting is that when you go in the YouTube studio, you can see like your top videos for the last 28 days. And these Slapshot videos, a lot of them are up there near the top. And you're like, wow, we recorded that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of neat that it's evergreen and it just keeps going.
Okay. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. Now